Well, Nick Smith joins us live at the scene now. Nick, what's the latest?
Well, the manhunt for these masked killers is still very much underway tonight, and as you can see behind me, police are still continuing to search Mr. Javid's warehouse, where the 56-year-old was tragically gunned down. There are some clues as to why it was targeted. It's understood many of the clients paid in cash, meaning it would have been a lucrative target for armed robberies. Well, some staff were still inside the building at the time of the raid and could have witnessed what happened, meaning they could hold vital evidence, although some will understandably be traumatised by what they've seen. They're being looked after by specially trained police officers tonight, but the priority will be to identify that getaway car which fled from the scene.
Nick, thank you very much.
You can feel the excitement and the energy here in this holding room for the preliminary stage of Britain's Got Talent. For the likes of Susan Boyle and George Sampson and those who've made it to the finals in previous years, this is where it all started. And for the hundreds of people in this room, they'll be hoping they'll be lucky enough to make it to the latter stages of the competition. So with up to 80% of amateur games being played at grassroots level on council pitches, it's clear that many of these amateur clubs are facing a crisis. And with just 1% of Premier League revenue actually filtering down to the grassroots level, many people will be asking what England's own football governing body is doing to try and help. Well, in part 2 of this series, I'll be visiting St George's Park, the home of England's FA in Burton-on-Trent, to try and see how they're reinvigorating grassroots football. Every few yards along this stretch of Alum Rock Road, you can spot pile after pile of bin bags. On street corners, in front of shops, even blocking bus stops. Fly tipping has become a blight on this part of Birmingham, with waste literally spilling onto the streets. Residents say it's making their life hell. One woman claims her elderly parents can't even leave their home without having to bump into rubbish on the pavement.
Elderly people live around here. They're going to trip over and hurt themselves. There's so many things that is wrong with this situation, but we really need somebody to get on board and help the residents and the shopkeepers and my parents ASAP.
Rooms trashed and ransacked, money stolen, along with priceless belongings. This is the scene the elders of the temple discovered on Tuesday morning. In the early hours, someone had managed to force open the gate of the Guru Nanak Gurdwara in Holy Bones and then broke into the building. They moved through office rooms, smashing windows and doors in their wake as they searched for items of value. Those who work in the temple say the incident has left worshippers in shock.
We don't expect this happen in the temple or mandir, anywhere in the masjid. That's a bad situation, and all the Sikh community is feeling very, very bad.
A beautiful sunlit morning in Leicester, as thousands gathered to bow their heads and pay their respects. Cannons fired to signal the 2-minute silence, a moment of tribute and quiet contemplation.
Some will carry in their hearts the memory of a specially loved one who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Servicemen and women, old and new, attended to honour those they served alongside and those who served before them.
You know, it's wonderful how many people turn out to remember this specific day, you know, and I will always carry on doing it until the day I can't.
While members of the public from all communities across Leicester turned out in their numbers to say thank you.
All the people who gave their lives for the freedom and the security and for the worldly peace.
All the communities are here and it brings everybody together, and I think that's an important message, you know, the unity.
It's a ritual we observe every year, but one which is always filled with respect and emotion, a lasting tribute, to be repeated as sure as the trees shed their leaves. Nick Smith, ITV News.
More than 5
£5 billion were tonight shelled out for the rights to screen live Premier League football.
In the last 2 decades, the top flight of English football has been fired into the financial stratosphere. Year after year, the lucrative payouts from television rights continue to grow. So Leicester City's Premier League triumph and qualification for the Champions League is now worth a cool £150 million. Even Aston Villa's relegation from the Premier League could see parachute payments worth up to £80 million. And in the last few weeks, Wolverhampton Wanderers have been bought out by a wealthy foreign investor with the potential to spend big.
To get back to the Premier League as soon as possible. That's what.
For the clubs near the top of the pile, things have never been richer. That's all well and good for the top teams, but what about the stars of the future? These players had to start somewhere, and those at the grassroots level running the junior clubs say they're facing bigger challenges than ever before. The wealth gap in football is getting wider.
Nice and close, have a look at his position, get ready. Finish him off. Quality, brilliant.
Leroy Richards runs a soccer school in King's Standing in Birmingham. 5 years ago, he appeared on ITV News Central as the winner of a Pride of Britain award for his coaching work.
Have a look at the goalkeeper's position. Yeah, can we pass it round him?
Flash forward to 2016, and just a couple of weeks before the new season, a dark cloud is falling over his overgrown pitches, which he'll have to find a way of restoring to playing standard. He says he faces an uphill battle with every passing year to keep his school afloat.
Grassroots football is a mess as far as I'm concerned. There's not enough support from the various leagues. There's not enough support from the FA. The coaching side of it is not very good. So it needs a whole new overhaul from top right down to the bottom.
Leroy was also awarded an MBE for his services to the community, but recently he's become so disillusioned with the state of funding and support for junior football, he's considered handing it back.
You get acknowledged for doing something and you get a wonderful title like an MBE. But then only years later, because of the financial restraints, you almost feel now that you can't continue your work in the community. It's getting tougher and tougher financially.
Now, Nick is here with us for the sport. Now, Nick, earlier on we heard about the arrest at the Villa Blues derby. Many fans, however, did show respect, not only for the fans, but also for the city, didn't they?
Yes, that's right. Birmingham united with a round of applause from both sets of supporters. It took place in the 21st minute of the match at St Andrews in tribute to the 21 people who died in the Birmingham pub bombings almost 42 years ago. And we'll have highlights from that game coming up in just a moment. Good evening. 4 people have been injured and 2 taken to hospital after a car mounted a pavement in Leicester. It happened on Humberston Gate near to the junction with Charles Street just before 5 p.m. today. Police say the car failed to stop and a vehicle has since been found abandoned nearby. An investigation into the incident is underway and there are a number of road closures in place. A murder investigation has been launched after the disappearance of a man 20 years ago. Michael Harewoodine was 32 when he was last seen at his home in Ruskington in Lincolnshire on the 21st of November 1996. Police believe that Mr Harewoodine's remains could possibly be buried in East Heckington and have begun digging between Swineshead Bridge and Sleaford. Sport now, and Chesterfield's poor run continues in League One, losing to Coventry City at the Ricoh Arena tonight. Second half goals from Jordan Willis and Andy Rose were enough for the home side to take the 3 points. Defeat leaves Chesterfield second from bottom, 4 points from safety. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Don't forget you can always check out our website for more details. That's itv.com/central. For now, though, from all of the late team, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.